Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Our show today is Food and Our Emotions, and our topic is Purpose and Emotional Eating. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I'm thrilled to welcome you here. I know that I, every single day, have a challenge with food, back and forth, don't eat it, do eat it, work out more, work out less, on and on and on, that hamster wheel that just goes round and round. So we have an expert here today to help us understand why we act the way we act, why we make the choices that we make. Before we bring her out, let's welcome the star of our show, Mr. Red.olaughlin. Hello.
Good morning, Dr. Jacalyn.
Hello, it's nice to see you.
It's always great to be seen.
So, Red, you have a lot of expertise when it comes to longevity and it comes to the body and understanding what's going on instead of putting a Band-Aid on it or taking some drugs and hoping that it's all going to figure itself out. You actually look at the root cause at the cellular level, why things happen, correct?
Yes, my primary enjoyment in life, passion, if you want, is to research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat a symptom, you'll always be treating symptoms. Around 15 years of age, my first love in life was chemistry, long before I met my wife, which will be 55 years this year. And I got a degree in it. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to practice it. I got an invitation to Vietnam, and then that kind of changed things a little bit. However, about a dozen years ago, my wife came down with breast cancer, and I had a chance to get back into my chemistry field by looking at what could I do for some of the chemo drugs and everything that was going on. It was just affecting her significantly. And so I started delving back into it. At that point in time, I was writing and speaking on motivation, self-improvement, self-esteem, subconscious mind. I wrote a book on that particular area, wrote a couple other books. And then since I started researching how can I help my wife subdue some of these problems she was having with the drugs, all of a sudden I found my love of chemistry just opened back up again. And since then I've continued that research. I've kind of honed in rather than just health and wellness. My primary focus is longevity, and that's where I spend most of my time nowadays. And with that, Dr. Jacalyn, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and we will get down to our special guest today.
Absolutely. And thank you, Red. You've helped me in so many ways. As you know, I'm doing intermittent fasting every day, and I've changed my behavior. So thank you for all that you do to help others. Let us welcome our special guest, who is also welcoming other people. She's been on our platform before, which is always a thrill to me when someone comes back, because I feel like we must be doing something right and people have more to share to help others. Her name is Amy Bondar, and she's joining us from Canada. She's an expert when it comes to nutrition and eating psychology. She's a coach, and she's been in this area of expertise for more than 20 years. Let's welcome her to the program. Amy, come on out.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. This is my favorite topic to speak about. So it's wonderful to be on this show and discuss this with you both.
Thank you so much, Amy. You know, you might have heard what I just shared in the beginning. Every day we have to make choices when it comes to food. And sometimes they can just torment us. I know I'm constantly tormented, as I shared before. And I realized that our purpose and our behavior have to be related in some way. But one thing I'd really like to talk about, just as we introduce the show, is we work so hard. Don't we deserve some pleasure?
We always deserve pleasure, absolutely. And food is one of our sources where we receive pleasure. So often we deny that of ourselves because of all of our diet rules and our nutrition culture that we have. But the truth is that when we eat, we're supposed to receive pleasure. However, we can also receive pleasure from doing the things that we love to do in our life and ensure that we're living in alignment. And when we do that, then we receive a lot of pleasure. And our eating then starts to give us, we make our food choices to give us energy to do the things we love to do. But when we're not receiving pleasure in our day from our daily tasks, from the work that we do, that's often when we seek pleasure, perhaps from food, but not from the most soulful place, right? We're using it to fill a void because we didn't receive pleasure in the things that we did in our day.
Understood. Wow. Thank you so much. Red.
Well, from a subconscious mind perspective, that's one of the areas that I've written a book on and I speak about quite often. We have, as you well know, that mindset. We have things that we want to do, and I know you're a specialist. You were trained under Dr. John DeMartini, and I've attended some of his lectures over the years. I fell in love with him a long time ago when he started speaking on the radio. And anyway, but I think that's a key area, because if we don't know what we're doing, why we're doing it, it kind of we don't have as you mentioned at the very beginning of the show, we don't have that purpose, and we don't. In fact, I think most of us don't realize that purpose we can align with our food choices and actually make ourselves a whole lot more successful in what we want to do, because we've taken not just the brain power, but now we're taking the nutritional power that supplements everything that we're doing. So I think that would be a great way to start into this discussion on, how does everything work?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you, Red, I'm very fascinated and interested in getting to the root of why we have our struggles with food, why we have unwanted eating behaviors, stress eating, binge eating, emotional eating, cravings, and so forth. And often the root cause, it can be found in different ways. Sometimes the root cause comes from physical reasons, right? Because we might be deficient in certain nutrients, and so we crave certain food. Sometimes the root cause for why we eat and have unwanted eating behaviors is because we're not resolving the emotional stresses in our day. And sometimes the root causes for why we eat emotionally is because we're not fulfilled from a soul level. And so when we can figure out and determine which one of our cravings was triggered. Was it triggered from the physical? Was it triggered because of the emotional stress today? Or was it triggered from the lack of soulful pleasure and soulful nourishment, as I like to call it? Then we can really start to decipher our nutrition, and we can really understand it and learn from it. I believe that our nutrition, it's our greatest teacher. Our relationship with food, it's our greatest teacher. But so often we miss the opportunity to learn, because as soon as we succumb to a food craving or an emotional or binge eating moment, we often go right into shame and guilt, right? Whereas we don't take the time to actually explore what was the trigger in the first place. And I think that's the key piece in helping us to truly transform our relationship with food, with our body, and with ourselves.
Well, I think a lot of time. Go ahead, Dr. Jacalyn.
I was going to say, I agree, but I'm going to put this out there for both of you. And this is not about me, but I'm putting it out there as an example. I have ulcerative colitis. I have facial eczema. My face is completely swollen and messed up. I've been to 7 doctors. I've changed my diet. I think I am a very healthy person with the choices that I make, but for some reason, it can't get under control. So if I were to work with you, Amy, you would actually spend time understanding what I'm going through in my life, or what choices I'm making with my food, and how that could be related to what's going on with my body?
Absolutely. I want to take a look. I do a deep dive into your nutrition. I also look at your nutritional biochemistry to take a look at if there's any imbalances, deficiencies, weaknesses in organ or hormonal systems that are contributing to the symptoms. And I also take a look at the possible unresolved emotional stresses and triggers that could be contributing to that as well, because I truly believe that our unresolved emotions are one of the number one reasons why we manifest illness, why we manifest symptom, why we manifest unwanted eating behaviors. And so when we start to resolve those emotions and identify what they really are, that can play a huge role in helping all that you're doing on the physical level. Because so many people chase the physical. I'm going to chase the diet, the supplements, all of the natural supports or medical supports, whatever is out there. But we often don't look at the possible unresolved emotional triggers. And when we resolve them, that's when the physiological body starts to shift. It can heal. And that's when all the nutritional benefits that you may be working so hard on finally start to fully work and do what they're most meant to be doing.
Well, I'm glad we're going down this path, because I think a lot of everything that we do, we need to start with awareness. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. You talk about nutrition, and most people, they have no concept of what they really need. They have no idea of what they're really getting. They have a habit. They get up in the morning, they have certain foods for breakfast. They know it's noontime. It's got to be time to eat. The afternoon snack, whatever it may happen to be, the drive home, the stresses on them. All of those things have a factor. They have now relational issues as soon as they get home. They want to relax. They sit in front of the TV. Their exercise regime is spotty on a good day. And so there's just a lot of things that, if they were aware of how all these things interrelated, and how important it is to have a better education of a lot of these things. But it all starts with that very first thing. Okay, you talk about nutrition and mindset, and most people have no real concept of either one of those two or how they work together. And you're absolutely right. If you're starting out deficient in 10 out of 30 plus nutrients the body needs a day, and have no idea about it, you're never going to be able to get to that level of having a balanced nutrition across the board on everything. And then that becomes the level platform for the emotional and the spiritual and everything else in our lives that we have a chance to really explore and expand in.
Yes. And I think that where some of that disconnect comes from is because there's just so much conflicting and confusing information out there in the nutritional world. I mean, it is a mass playground of so much confliction. And so sometimes it's hard to even know where to begin, which is where I come in. But on a deeper level too, I think we've really disconnected to the why and the purpose of eating. For me personally, I teach my clients and my audiences is that we really want to eat for energy and vitality so that we can do what we love to do in our lives. Right. But so often we're eating for the pleasure, for the joy, for the fulfillment, for the instant gratification, because we're not feeling that joy in our days. And so food becomes that for a lot of people. And so I think we have to reconnect to the why, to eat for the energy. I often talk about food as vibration, and everything in the universe has a vibration. Nature has vibration. Essential oils have vibration, food has vibration, and our cellular body, Red, which you know a lot about this, it has vibration. Our cells are vibrational. They emit light frequency, and so does whole natural food. And when we start to eat foods that have photons of light, natural vibration, that's what our cells start to resonate with. So the level and the quality of our energy and our vibration is absolutely dependent and correlated to the level and vibration of the food in which we eat. And if we're eating that live, colorful, whole natural food that's nutrient dense, that grows and subsists in nature, then our energy, our vibration is much higher, and we emit that out to the world. And that's what we want to connect to. It's like, where do you want to play in the game of life? How do you want to show up in the world? Do you want to be high vibration, or do you want to be low vibration? And your food is one of the things that allows you to be vibrational, but so does your purpose and your meaning in your life. And if we can get those two matched, we are very vibrational beings, and that's what we want to be.
Yeah, I want to just share a couple of things. I agree with what you're saying. I think one of the challenges is, and I've shared this before, I grew up with a father who instilled food was a celebration. we're going out to dinner. We're going to be here for 4 hours. Don't bother us. We're dining. It's an event. And it was on a regular basis. And then I think when you watch mainstream television, which I don't do, but it's on all day, you hear the commercials and you see the images and it's like, wow, I really want that Mick whatever food or fast food. And so people are thinking that it's okay because it's on a television screen. So it must be okay. And what everyone else is saying doesn't make any sense. So I feel like in society, we need a shift also to promote more about what the role is that food actually plays in our lives.
Absolutely.
And I don't think a lot of times that we actually taste the food we have. We just gobble it down rather than, enjoy that mouthful of food where you can chew it and you have the textures, you have the flavors, you have a lot of things in there that can be enjoyed. But when you sit down and you're done 2 minutes later, because you have other things in life that are distractions, that also becomes a habit, and we never have a chance to truly enjoy the food that we have. Or we have the exact same food every single day, the exact same breakfast, the exact same, maybe 2 proteins a week that we stick with all the time. Or if you go out to eat, you have the exact same meal everywhere because you know that it's a good meal and that's what you want, but you still blast right through that entire meal without really truly sitting down. And as you talked about, Dr. Jacalyn and your dad, you're sitting there to enjoy things. Don't bother me. We're going to be here for a while. And that's not what we do. But if you sit down and you actually, and I think as purposely as Amy would say, you purposely want to be eating the foods that are going to align with what you want to do in life, align with your body, your mindset. Those are the things that now all of a sudden we get a much better lifestyle as to what's going on in our world.
Agreed.
Yeah. So Amy, when you work with your clients and they come to you, is it typically a situation where their whole life has to be unpacked? Where it's just like you were a small child and this happened and that happened. I mean, I know every case is different, but is it really where someone comes to you and is exhibiting signs of something that's wrong and then you have to figure out going back to childhood?
Not necessarily all the way. I mean, again, as you said, everybody is different. But yes, I am really trying to take a look at the root of why somebody is manifesting with the symptoms that they're presenting with, why they're coming to see me, or why they're having maybe weight challenges, or why they can't seem to just stick with their nutritional path because they always veer off with emotional eating or stress eating. So my job is to really take a look at what are those triggers. Was there some of the unresolved traumas and conflicts from your past? Because absolutely that can play a role in how you're doing food and how your health symptomatology is presenting. So yes, I might take a look at those things. I also very much spend time asking my clients what they do and if they're fulfilled in what they do in their day, because so many people aren't doing what they love to do. And that definitely contributes to fatigue. It contributes to low immunity. It contributes to depression, anxiety, and emotional eating. And often it can even contribute to a heaviness of weight that they carry. So I'm looking at the possible physical reasons through poor nutrition, poor nutrient intake. I'm looking at the unresolved emotional triggers, and I'm looking at the possible unfulfilled soul. When the soul is not living on path, when it's not doing what it's most meant to be doing, that's when our body gives us physical feedback through symptoms to try to get us back on path. Sometimes those symptoms are emotional eating ones as well. So our emotional binge moment might be the knock on the door to say, hey, what you did today in your day wasn't fulfilling. It was challenging your highest values. It wasn't, you're not on mission. You're not doing what you love. And so that's where the work begins. It's not in eat this, don't eat that. It's really about let's resolve that stressor. Let's look at that. Let's ensure that you're living on path and purpose so that then the relationship with food naturally starts to shift and change.
I think that's a good road to go down. In fact, it looks like it's almost time for our break, but I'd like to know more about how you lead your clients through stress management, because there's a lot of ones out there, some more effective than others. And I'd be really interested to learn more about that part, because unless you resolve the stress, things are going to continue to to unwind, so to speak.
Definitely.
Yeah, Amy, do you want to touch on that now?
Sure. So one of the tools that I use, as you mentioned, Red, is that I'm a facilitator of the DeMartini method. I've trained with Dr. John DeMartini for 20 years. And this is a very specific methodology that helps you shift your perceptions. It helps you take a look at events in your life, circumstances, people, events that have triggered you and that have contributed to your stress. And we shift it and we look at it from a different light. We use different universal laws to understand how to ask different questions to see an event in a different way. So often when something stresses us out, or if we're worried about something or angry about something, we only see the negatives of that situation. We see it as all bad, all wrong. It's disturbed us. It's created us and put us into a victim circumstance. And what my job is to do is to help show people that even in the greatest challenges, there's always blessings, teachings, growth to be had. And so as we start to equilibrate that situation, as we start to balance it and see that, yes, that challenge, that stress definitely had some negatives, but it also had some teachings, benefits, blessings, and you grew from it. If we can see and find gratitude in why that situation happened the way that it did, then the physiological body starts to relax. And when we can equilibrate the mind, we equilibrate the body. That means the nervous system starts to regulate. That means our hormones start to regulate. That means our cellular body starts to become more balanced. And when that all happens, physiological body shifts, right? We start to gain health and wellness again. So much of our stress and tensions within the body are lopsided perceptions in the mind. And when we balance the mind, we can begin to balance the physiology. So that's one way that I can help my clients start to resolve some stresses.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes I feel like, not just with myself, but others I know well, there's that tug of war between the intellectual perspective and being able to see what the situation is and understanding the situation and seeing the pros and seeing the cons. And then that emotional component that is just going, no, I'm going to win, and kind of pulls us down. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that when we come back from the break.
For sure.
All right. Stay with us. We will be back with food and our emotions right after this break.
Imagine yourself at our very first retreat. Live, learn, teach, and inspire alongside your hosts, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck and Philip Sykes. In partnership with USA Global TV and Radio and the British School of Excellence. Coming soon in 2023. Email us at info@usaglobaltv.com for more information.
I just can't take it anymore. I am so tired. I am so frustrated and burnt out. Why won't anyone listen to what I have to say? Yet I look on social media and everybody's smiling and having a great time. Meanwhile, I feel totally alone with my world rushing by. Guess what? Great news. You have a choice. You can change the dynamic by learning how to listen at an elevated level yourself through the power of listening educational courses. Can you imagine from where you are today to having a life overflowing with abundance? It's possible. Learn how to listen at an elevated level. You'll have deeper connections, better relationships, and more authentic conversations. Start today. Go to usaglobaltv.com, education, and learn how to listen. We have courses and children's books. Let's work together to learn how to listen. welcome back to our show here at USA Global TV and Radio. Today we are on food and our emotions with our special guest, Amy Bondar, and we are talking about right now triggers and that battle between our intellects, understanding and watching what's going on, and those emotions that are just overriding the situation. Amy, what can we do when that happens?
Yeah, so you talked about how we can in our mind sort of take a look at the pros and cons of a situation, and sometimes we do that very flippantly and very quickly, like, oh yeah, I get it, I see it. But in order to really put it in our heart and to really anchor it and actually truly have the shift, we have to come to a place of gratitude. We have to come to a place of seeing how this situation and stressor actually serves me in my life. And without this challenge, without this trigger, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be where I am in my life today. I wouldn't have all these benefits that I've just realized about this. And you really want to come to a place of, wow, like it's a moment of gratitude, of certainty, and that you wouldn't have changed that stressor or challenge in any way. And that takes time. Sometimes I'll sit in a session for, if I'm doing a method, a DeMartini method session, it's usually a 2.5-hour session. So it's not just a 5-minute thing, right? We really have to sit and work and do the work to resolve the things that are most triggering to us.
Yeah, I really like that. Thank you. Just a follow-up question, just an example. Let's say someone's in a marriage and it's just not working, and they realize that what their role is, they realize the other person's role, and they're grateful for all the years they had together, but they just know that they can't keep going on with the way things are. Is that something where the person says, okay, but I should still be grateful because of this, this, and this, and I should hang in there?
Yeah, if you can leave with love and gratitude and really appreciate your partner for the time that you had, then I think that that's a beautiful parting. It doesn't mean that there's no hurt. It doesn't mean that there's not, sorrow or grief that you experience as a result of leaving that relationship. But there's nothing wrong with separating from a marriage that's no longer serving. If you're both in love and gratitude for the time that you had, I think that that's a beautiful way to part.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. One of the things just before the break caught a kind of a little thing in my brain, because you're talking about the events we've had in our lives that affect us. And before I was enamored, that's probably truly a good word to use, because I really do like a lot of the stuff that Dr. John DeMartini was putting out. I was following Dr. Morris Massey. I'm not sure if you know him or not, but one of his first movies out or videos out way back then was You Are What You Were When. So when you were born, when you grew up, what the economic situation was, the world situation, all those things were going on that affects your life. And even if you have two kids born a year apart, there are some major differences in how they turn out in life and what they consider to be important. And that was probably the first thing that really got me involved way back when. Well, why do we do the things we do? And if you understand that, okay, that back there is connected to that, and that's connected to that, then all of a sudden you see, my goodness, that does. And that to me, I think is not an aha moment, but it leads us down a path that we have control over a lot of things in our lives, even if a lot of bad things happened. And I think that's a major step forward, particularly when we're having problems with weight. I mean, there's something in there in the back of our mind that's creating a problem, or we have a problem with relationships, or we have a problem with, ungodly number of things. Just we have problems, but we don't know why we have problems. And
I think it's because we're not taking the time to do the deep exploration on those, because again, we're often chasing the physical. We're chasing the next perfect diet, the next magic pill. And yet we're not actually spending time to look at the deeper dimensions in our lives that aren't feeling right, that aren't in alignment with us. And when we do that work, that's when we have the greatest success. The long-term success that I see with my clients are the clients that do the inner work. They resolve the emotions, They're ensuring that they're living on path, ensuring that they're living on purpose and in point and in alignment with what their soul is really asking. But it's the clients that don't do the physical, the emotional work, and they don't do the soul work, and they just continually chase the next diet, the next diet, the next diet. They're always going to be on the weight loss journey, and they're always going to be chasing calories or chasing the next fad. And it never, ever resolves what the core meaning is behind why they're having struggle with their relationship with food, or why maybe that last 10 pounds of weight won't be shed, because there's still some inner work that needs to be released. That to me is our biggest failing in our nutritional world out there, is people are not talking about the importance of doing the inner work to get the external results. And to me, that's where the gold is. That's what I do in my practice. And that's the work I love to do, because my ultimate mission is to help people transform their relationship with food, with body, and their self. And if we're not doing the emotional and soul work, we're not doing the major transformation.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the fact that we get to where we are, as Red was saying, over time. And yet we want the magic wand to wave it and make everything change overnight. And they just don't go together.
They sure don't. You know, we're in a lifelong journey with ourselves and our food. And our society, we like the instant fix and the instant gratification, but that's not what gives us the long-term results, as I mentioned. I think if we can really realize is that we do relate with food every single day of our lives. It's our longest lasting relationship. If you think about it, really from the moment that we're born, I mean, even the moment of our conception to the time of our physical death, we nourish, we eat, we have to relate with food. And so this relationship really is here with us. It's our greatest guide. It's our greatest teacher, but we haven't been taught to listen to its messages. We haven't been taught to say, okay, well, when I have a craving, what does that mean? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it soulful? When I have a binge moment, we haven't been taught to just sit in the pocket of that and really explore the trigger behind why that happened, right? We just move right to the shame and guilt. So I think if we sort of take a different look at how we do food and how we want to relate with it throughout our life, we can really change that behavior of needing to be in the instant fix and realize that along the way, we're going to have ebbs and flows with our diet, ebbs and flows with our eating moments. But as long as we're conscious about it and understand the teachings that it's meant to be giving us, that shifts how we do food forever.
Amy, there's one thing I do every month. That's a 72-hour fast. Sometimes it ends up being 150 or more. But when I'm on that, I'm focused. I know what I want. I know why I'm doing it. And I could be driving down the street and smell Chinese food or burgers or whatever, and zero cravings. I mean, absolutely none. Yet if I'm just by myself out driving with my wife and all of a sudden that aroma comes wafting through the car, I can feel something, and my focus is not on what that goal was for that period of time. It's just an open focus. And I'm not going to say it's a craving, but it's certainly being recognized. And there are times when I actually do have cravings. They don't last very long, but there's a reason why they occur. And those cravings, as you say, if our mindset is focused on what we want, those things come and blow right by and we never even recognize them. And I see that all the time, particularly when I'm in between my fasting states each month. It's so apparent to me that sometimes, okay, fine, I don't need that. That smells good. Maybe I'll give some thought to that.
Well, you said something really interesting in there. You said when you're in your fast, you know why you're doing it. So when you're in your fast, perhaps I assume you're doing it for the longevity, because you're doing it because you really value your health. You're wanting to get to a rarefied and cleansed state. You want to make a shift in your physiological body. So you're choosing that fast from an inspired state because it's a very high value to you. Versus when you're in the car with your wife, you're probably in traffic, maybe doing a mundane errand or task that you don't really want to do. And so your vibration at that point, your mind, is your lower mind, is sort of acting up a little bit, right? When you're in the fast, you're in your higher mind. But when you're in the day-to-day mundane life of traffic and errands and just kind of doing whatever, then all of a sudden that aroma from the fast food starts to show up and you're triggered. Because in that moment, you're not in pleasure and joy, right? In the moment, you're like, I need some instant gratification to make me excited because this drive right now is really boring, or because I really don't want to be going out to do what we're going to be doing. And so you need the quick fix of the food to bring the pleasure. So can you see the difference that when you're in the higher minded place, and that doesn't mean you always have to fast to get up to that place, right? Often when we're doing what we love, we're in that place. When we're doing what we love, we don't crave. When we're doing what we love, we don't want emotional eating moments. We don't have them. When we're doing what we love, we're not eating stressfully. We're just not. We're eating from an inspired place. So there's a huge difference. And that's what we want to be conscious of. Am I, doing what I love? Am I using my food to give me energy to do that? Or am I doing things that I feel I have to do, I need to do, I should do, I must do? And that's very gravitational. That's not soul giving. It's not energy giving. And that's often when we start to crave those foods or give in to the temptations, because it's the joy and pleasure that we're not receiving from doing what we love. That's the distinction, I believe, Red, that we have to pay attention to.
I think that all, sorry, Red, I was going to say, I agree.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because I have a list. I know where I'm going. I know what needs to be done. I know when I need to get back. I have that planned out. It's just not a willy-nilly, yes, let's go out and wander. We do that, but not very often. But when I'm, focused, okay, we need to be back. I got this at that time. I got this, whatever it may happen to be. And so that makes a lot of sense, what you said there, because I have a focus, but it's not a higher focus. It's a now focus. It's time-driven focus, but it's not an enjoyment or a goal achieving focus other than, I need these 3 items here. I need to pick that up. Those things there are a lower level, lower vibration, as you said earlier. So a lot of that does make a significant amount of difference in the way that I'm perceiving outside stimuli as I'm going through life. And so that does make a lot of sense, Amy. It really does.
Perfect.
Yeah, Amy, one of the topics I'd love for you to touch on, and then I invite you to come back because I don't think we'll be able to finish it in this time, is I've seen this throughout my years in working in corporate. For example, you're traveling, you're with the same people, and they've got this big bag of pills, supplements that they have to take. And yet they're having a cheeseburger with fries and a Coke. And I think to myself, I don't think that's going to cancel out that. But in their mind, they're saying, no, I take these supplements and everything's going to be all right.
Yeah, I believe that our nutritional supplementation needs to be an adjunct. It needs to be to top up the good food that we're eating, not as the, what we think might be the insurance policy to, to make up for the lack of good nutrition and good lifestyle choices we're making. So, yeah, I don't really agree with that, just to pop some pills to counter the choices of bad food. I think we have to find a higher reason, a higher purpose for why we're eating well, why we want to make the choice to eat well, and then use our supplementation to optimize that. But I think it's moot if you're eating poor quality food and then you're taking these supplements. It's really not going to make much of a difference for your overall longevity and health.
I loved how you used the term insurance policy, because that's exactly what we do. We think, oh, I got this over here that's going to save the day if I do this, this, and this. One of the key takeaways that I have from this show today, and I thank you for that, both of you, is that we can be doing all the right things, but if we haven't addressed what's going on inside, if we have triggers that are constantly, we're reacting because of it, then it doesn't matter all the other things that we're doing, because we got to get to the root cause of the problem. Is that correct?
Exactly. That's where the real work is. And that's what we're being called to do. And the more you do that work, that's when all the physical things that you're doing will finally work and really, really give you that health and longevity and vitality that you're seeking. And so you got it, Dr. Jacalyn.
Yay. Well, thank you for that. I'm going to be 60 in 10 days. So at least I learned something that I can incorporate to all these things that I'm doing for my physical self. And I need to incorporate that as well. So thank you. Amy, you've got a special giveaway. Tell us about it.
Yeah, these are meal suggestions, optimum meals suggestions to enhance your energy and vitality. The way in which they're created are going to help to just really ensure that you're feeling satisfied, satiated, and free of craving. They'll bring you a lot of pleasure and joy while you're eating them because they're all foods that are going to raise your energy and vibration.
And how can people reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you about partnering with you?
Yes, the best way to reach out to me is through my website, amybondar.com. And I'm loving to work with people. I welcome people to work with me who are ready to do the emotional and soul work to finally get to the root of why they have unwanted eating behaviors, weight challenges, or physical symptoms that won't go away.
And for those people in our audio audience today, that's Amy, A-M-Y, Bondar, B-O-N-D-A-R. So A-M-Y, B-O-N-D-A-R, amybondar.com.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Amy. It was a pleasure. I know you're coming back on another one of our programs, and we look forward to having you then. And thanks for getting up so early.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great to see you, and I look forward to the next time I can chat with you both. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.
Bye now.
Bye. That was really very eye-opening and inspirational.
Well, I think it went from the area of awareness, which we really did cover, into educational, which is something we don't always get into in some of these programs. And so from that perspective, I learned a lot today too, with regard to maybe focusing a little higher than what I do when I just go out for regular mundane things. Yeah, I have things I need to do, want to do, got to do, but it's not always in alignment with everything else that's going on that day that's important. So yeah, that was worth the price of admission today.
Thanks for getting up early, you as well. You know, something that I really am taking a look at as a result of this conversation is I've been told that I operate in my masculine energy most of the time. And I've been working on it the last couple of years to be more in my feminine energy. People would say, "Where's sweet Jackie?" I'm like, "She's dead. There's no Jackie." Like, I have work to do. I have things to get done, and I'm going 100 miles an hour. And I feel like now that I've tapped more into that feminine side, maybe the emotions are coming up and I need to address what they relate to, if that makes sense.
Well, I think in your world, do you have time?
But we have to make time because this
I
is our
know.
life, right? We
I
can't be
know, and
controlled by like a puppet control.
I mean, it's not like you have from 11 to 12 today. It's Dr. Jacalyn time.
No, I
It's
don't
catch
have
up on
it.
everything else that's going on. With 350 shows a week that you're doing, you just don't have time for that.
It's funny because I love my workouts. I walk twice a day, and of course I'm working the whole time, one of those idiot people texting, calling, and then I go to solid core. And before I go into solid core, I have to mentally psych myself up for the level of springs that I'm going to be using because I could get hurt if I don't do it the right way. So there is no relaxation time, and that's where I have to work on it. I've got to find a way to relax so I can deal with the emotions and the triggers, and amen to that. So enough of me.
And if you don't write it down, it won't happen. So it's got to be written down on your schedule.
Got to be on that
otherwise,
clipboard.
it's not going to. It's just like we have 10 days to get your book out. We got a lot to do because the last 4 days we're locked out of the system. So we got to get that whole thing done.
Oh, my friend, I've been up since 4 working on it. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right, we're going to sign off for now. Red, how do people reach out to you, and who do you want to contact you? Tell us about your new book.
My latest book is Understanding the Causes of Alzheimer's. I go into 7, 8 different pathways at Alzheimer's. In fact, most diseases start, but Alzheimer's has a certain end function with regard to the neurons in the brain and our ability for cognitive thinking. And everything that I have as far as my contact information is on my website, red.olaughlin.com. That's R-E-D, red like the color, O'Laughlin, O-L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N. So it's red.olaughlin.com. My phone number, my email address are there. Those are my 2 preferred methods of contact. So give me a call. I'm a speaker. I'd be more than happy to talk, whether it's virtual or in person. The other things I do is I have books on various aspects of longevity. And I'm a researcher. I publish stuff almost quite often, used to be every single day, but other things in my life have gotten in front of me. So I probably really need to get back to trying to publish every single day. But anyway, red.olaughlin.com is the best way to reach me. And I have another 2 shows today on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. At 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern, we have The Wise Ones. And then I have number 4, I believe, out of 6 on lifestyle and longevity on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And that's at 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern today. And so with that, Dr. Jacalyn, I'm turning it back over to you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Our next show is The Corner Bookstore. We'll be back a little bit later on today, and we'll see you then. Thanks again, Amy. Thank you again, Red. And thank you to everyone watching or listening. Bye.